Here's a couple of photos of the truck before it was pulled out of where it was, sitting for nearly 20 years near the sea, so everything's starting to go rotten pretty good from the salt here. Still loaded with the transporter on the back, overgrown. It had to get cut out of all the timber and stuff out of there, and everything was rotten. Here's a photo of it on the transporter leaving the South Island after it was pulled out. Hey guys, it's Cam here from Spooner Heavy Industries. Just have a bit of a walk around this truck we've just bought and show you where we're starting, the starting point of basic restoration. We're not going to go hard out on this one, we're just going to tidy everything up and get it running, but that's going to be a bit of a feat in itself, to be fair. So she's pretty rusty. You can see the radiator's absolutely rotten to nothing in there. Front's pretty straight. Rims are all throwaway, the hubs are good. Pretty much everything on that tower I'm going to rebuild, pull that old tower off, and we'll refold all the sides. I've got two new 16-inch proper air cleaners for it, the genuine Kenworth ones. Run twin exhausts on it. Chassis rails are yeah, they're a throwaway. It's pretty, the rust is pretty extreme on this thing really for what it is. It's been sitting beside the sea for ages, so yeah, it's all going to be a throwaway, all that shit there. Two new rails. There'll be a lot of stuff getting replaced in the back end of this. Some of the 6-rod components will have to be replaced because they're just too far gone to do anything with, like the U-bolts. We'll blast the springs, see what they come up like. Air tanks. Probably the best part of this truck really is the cab and the interior. I mean, the cab needs heaps of work. I can't get the doors open yet. I'm working on that, but yeah, the interior is pretty cool on it. For a truck that's been sitting around for a long time, that'll clean up real nice. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's the overview of it. Hopefully we'll have a video of some of the progress soon, and a startup video. Got a bit of work to do to get the motor running, to get the cab over first, replace all the cab tilt hoses, get the cab over, pull the rocker covers off the engine, check all the plungers and the racks are all free on the engine because they tend to seize up on the full fuel position, so we want to get those all checked and freed up, and then we'll try and start it, and then yeah, post a startup video. Right, finally got the driver's door open. There's a heap of pulling and tugging and CRCing and a bit of hoo-haing in there to get it all freed up. The catch was here pretty sticked. Look through, still got the old RT in it, /CB. So yeah, I'll start cleaning all this out, get all the interior nice and clean. Right, so we've replaced our cab tilt hoses from there. The cab pump's absolutely rooted, so we've run a power pack which is plumbed in. We've got a few extra hoses there to change out for spares if we need it, and then that's run back off to the digger because there's 24 volt. So let's have a look. Perfect. Alright, here she is. Yeah, this will be why the gear stick doesn't move. Yeah, no, that's probably not going to sandblast up alright. Turbo still, surprising enough, I just popped the cover off it. Still feels alright. Just needs a bit of a clean. Just trying to free up these throttle linkages, get those freed up so we can actually run the throttle, and then I'm going to pull the rocker covers off, check the injector plungers, and the racks are all free. And the next thing I probably much need to do is get a bar on the motor and wind it over and make sure it actually turns and it's not locked up, which probably is, considering the state of everything else, but yeah. Surprisingly enough, the radiator is actually in pretty good condition at the top and the core, so we might be able to pull that out and put another bottom on it, and that might be our radiator issue sorted. It's got the factory cast pipes that come off the top, which are quite rare. A lot of people just welded all sorts of crap together to make an adapter and a bend to put these motors in trucks when they were repowered, but yeah, it's pretty cool to have those as well, those two cast pipes up there. And yeah, needs a bit of work and a bit of sandblasting. Might have to remake that front bracket. I'm not quite sure what that does yet. I'd say it's some sort of one of those old style spinner filters or something along those lines, but I'll figure that out soon. Right, so we got the old vacuum cleaner in here, went pretty hard out. Still a little bit to go, but at least we can kind of see what we're working on. Vacuumed all around the top of the rocker covers, so when we pull those off, it doesn't end up putting shit all in the fully into underneath it around the rocker train. Yeah, so we're having to build this truck, or work on this truck at home in the container shelter, because our workshop in town has got my W model in it, which we've spent about 15 years on, and that's in a million bits still, and paying customers work. So yeah, we're doing this one at home, but it's quite good because then I can just muck around with it every chance I get spare, and yeah, bits and pieces, just chip away at it, should be good. Alright, so we got the rocker cover off, the left hand bank. She looks pretty nice in there, to be fair. Yeah, it's good, it's what we want to see. Now, when I was telling you about it being stuck in the fuel position, there's a few things you want to check on the rack. So that's the rack there. Each injector, which is in here, has a little rod down there, and you want to make sure those are all free. And if they're not free, they'll be jammed, and then it'll just be rocking back on the spring. So we just check all those to make sure the rods are all free. Yep. Which they are. And the other thing we need to do is crank the motor over just by hand, and if it turns, and check that the injector plunger, which is this one here in between the two valves, make sure, obviously that'll go down, but you want to make sure it returns back up, because if it doesn't return up, it just stays down, and then that's obviously not going to work. So they do get a little bit sticky sometimes. You can wind them up and down and put a bit of CRC on them and free them up. Yeah, pretty happy with how that looks. Everything looks pretty tidy. I'm quite surprised that rack's all nice and free, and all those injector control rods are all free, which is good. So we're just going to pull off that throttle linkage there and get that rocker cover off. Now, when I was cleaning out the cab, pretty much all this rubbish came out of the cab, I found this. That's a reason to worry. If you know what that is, then you'll think, so those are what's called plastic gauge, or flex gauge, and it's a little wee thin piece of plastic, like a soft plastic, and when you're setting a motor up or changing the bearings in a motor, the mains and the big ends, you'll put that stuff in, do the cap up, torque it up, and that'll squash down, and you put it against here and it measures the clearance. So used for bearings. So hopefully that's completely unrelated to this motor and it's got nothing to do with it. Yeah, I hope it doesn't start up and it's got a massive beauty big knock on it, but if that's the case, that's the case. I do have another one of these motors complete that's like new or rebuilt, which I can put on this if I have to, but it'd just be pretty cool to get this one going. Right, so we've got the right end bank the cover off that, and yeah, she's all free. The injector rods are moving nice and freely, so that's good. That little thing there is missing the hose off it. That's the bypass valve, so this is a bypass blower, which is cool. That obviously need a bit of a tidy up and some piping and stuff. There's quite a few pipes and stuff that need obviously replacing. A lot of the fittings are rotten. But yeah, so the next step is we're going to try and bar the motor over. The fan spins nice and freely because that's a Horton, so that's on a fan clutch. So we'll try and bar the motor over and see if it'll wind over, and then we'll check all the injectors to make sure they're not sticking down. And from there, we're just going to make sure the fuel system's all primed and try and start it. Right, we've got our 3/4 bar on the camshaft sprocket. Reason we've done that is because we just can't get anything on that. There's just no room against the shroud. So it does say in the book, if you ever wind it over off the camshaft, just to be careful, because you can undo the nut by accident on the end a little bit or loosen it, and then the pulley can fall off, and we don't want that, but we'll keep an eye on that. And yes, it is free, which is awesome. So we're going to wind it over by hand and check all those injectors don't stay down. Right, so we're getting close to being ready to start it. It's got a series parallel switch on it, so it would have had 2 batteries in here, and then it starts on 24 volts, runs on 12. So we'll just bypass that for the meantime, so we'll just start it on 24 volts, just on the starter circuit only, because it's got a mechanical shut off on this, so we don't need any other voltage for anything, and I'd rather not, just in case something catches on fire and I can't see. With all the smoke it's probably going to make. So we've got jumper leads out to our digger, and on this side throttle linkage is all nice and free now. The diesel shut-offs up in there is all nice and free. We've got an emergency piece of rubber here to jam against the turbo to shut it off if it runs away. Hopefully it doesn't, because that'll be scary, but yeah. So we're going to just try and start it at the moment without priming any of the fuel, because the fuel tank's still half full of fuel. It looks like it's got fuel for everything. So we'll just go out on a whim and think it might happen, but probably not. Right, attempt number 1. How good is that for being sitting between, well, arguably somewhere between 10 and 20 years. I've got a funny feeling this might have been run at some point in between that stage. Just, yeah, didn't blow a lot of smoke, and it was pretty tidy under the rocker covers, you know, a lot of wheel round. But anyhow, how cool is that? Choice. So that's pretty much the startup video and look over the truck. First episode completed. If you guys like what you see and you want more, cool, give us a positive comment. I'm not really interested in people posting shitty comments or negative stuff. I just haven't got time for that crap anymore. So yeah, there's enough of that in the industry, but I'd love to hear your feedback, or if you like what you see and you want to see some more, going through and repairing the rest of all this, let us know. Just a second startup to see how it starts the second time.